Hi, this is Kirk Ellis of Birchwood, Alaska, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about wings for P-18 Super Cubs. And the wings are kind of the most important part of the build. And to get them straight, the tram, leading edge alignment, trailing edge alignment, flap alignments, and even installing the tip bow. And so we're going to cover each section of the wing and kind of give you a little bit better idea on how to work on these wings. Okay, yeah, the first thing we're going to talk about here is your crossbar for the fuel tank. And a lot of these airplanes are so old and been rebuilt so many times that you need to make sure this is the exact length. And so when you have them out, when you're cleaning them, stand them up to each other and compare them, and make sure that from bolt hole to bolt hole is the original length from Piper. And so the distance between this bolt hole and this one is, and so that's where you start, because this one is not adjustable. So you put this in here, and you have the rest of your tram wires loose in your wing. And of course, you're not going to have leading edges on it. I'm working with a whole wing here, and so that's the first step right there in order to get this wing started. And then we'll go to the next step. Okay, and the next step is all these tram wires are going to be loose down the wing, and your wing's going to be wiggly wobbly. You won't have leading edges on it or trailing edges on it. So you can adjust it, and if you don't have a jig to put it in or anything like this, and so what you want to do is in this first bay right here is you want to square. This needs to be absolutely perfectly square, and so if you have this in there already, then you square this. And there's a couple ways to do it. I mean, you can measure up from here and put a mark here, and you measure across there. A lot of times, if you have a good tape measure, you can just hook it right in here and measure from here to here and square it. Other people will take, and they'll put a dimple here, and they'll tape something on here. Just any way to where you can get a pretty much a very, very accurate measurement. And if you square this bay right here, then after you've got that done squared, go back to your angle and take that bolt out and make sure that bolt slides in and out. Because if you over torque one of these, it'll torque that bolt down, and when you get your wing all done, you can't get the bolt out, or when you do, bam, the wing will change shape. So it's really important. This is square and tight, and that bolt slides in and out. So then that's your stage, and then you go to the next stage up here. Okay, and then the next one, then if you try and square each bay, it'll start getting complicated on you. So the best way to do it is to get and look down the spars of the wing and start tightening these to where the spars are absolutely straight by looking down them. And so snug these, and then snug your two long ones. Then what you want to do is you want to take and put a string on the leading edge up here and run it full length to that down there, and make sure that that leading edge is absolutely straight. The trailing edge is absolutely straight, because your wing, if you tighten it wrong, it'll be bowed in or bowed out, and then that causes a dip in the leading edge. And then you just continue to tighten these wires to the deal. I've done it so long I just pull on them and check them for tightness. But there is a gauge you can use for that. Okay, the next part here. Okay, now what I'm going to do is just back up just a little bit and just make a note here when you're putting this crossbar in. And something you always want to remember is this one is shorter than this one, and you can flip this over. And even if you get it in right, sometimes you'll put this in backwards, and the wing will not tram, and it will not be straight. And so make sure that this one here is the short guy, and this one here is the long guy. And from the rear, this angle goes like this. Don't get this angle like this, because that cable will hit it. when it's rubbing it. So anyway, that's a quick note. But continue to tighten your brace wires until they're nice and snug. Both spars are straight. Your string line is perfectly straight on the front. And that will give you a straight wing to start with. Okay. Okay, I was going to talk about the wood tip bow. There's a lot of people do it different, and this is the way I do it. When you get the tip bow, it'll have a little sign on it that says soak in water and then put it on there so it will bend around. And what I found is if you soak it in water and then it's wet, and you put it on there and you got to try and wait for it to dry, and it never does dry out, so then you put varnish on it and it's wet inside and it rots. So what I do is I just put it on, and we put about 4 or 5 coats of varnish on it. I will stick it in this corner right here, and I will keep moving it around, measuring it until it goes over the end right there. I take a small clamp, bend it around, and put it right here. Bend it around, put it right here. And I drill these holes, drill, 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 and I set that tip right here. Then that way it's there. Then I take this end and bend it over very carefully. Don't reef on it or anything like that, and put your other bolts in it. Done deal. Okay, you see this metal that I have on it. The wings don't come with this metal on them, and so we have been putting a 20 thousandths aluminum on these wings, and the reason is these wings are old. These ribs, they get old and they get tired, and so as long as they hold their shape, these are new Univar ribs. And another reason is because of the fabric has changed, and so we put these on here to hold these ribs and make a block out of this, and this thing is just solid. And so you bring your fabric over and you glue it to here and use 2 deals, and then you put the tip on. And that way the fabric is solid here and it's solid there. If something does happen, say you taxi into a tree or something and you break your tip bow, you loosen all the fabric on the wing. This way, if you damage the tip, you only loosen the fabric here. The rest of your wing remains the same all the time. And so it's a really big help. Then you have loose fabric on your wing even when you repair it and try to stretch it. And so this is something that I've been doing on these. And then adding the leading edge on the front here makes it a little bit smoother, because what happens is a lot of them get old, these ribs fail, and they're called holder ribs, and they hold the fabric out here to keep it from doing a big dip, and you lose that. And so whenever you lose these ribs, and you don't want to replace everything on the wing, but you can just put a piece of metal on the top here, and it adds a little bit of weight, but the benefit outweighs the weight.